What's going on, guys? This is Star, and welcome back to the channel. So, the closer we get to the release of Star Wars Outlaws, the more hyped I'm getting for this game. It seriously has the potential to be the most ambitious Star Wars video game that's ever been made, with features like getting to work for Jabba the Hutt, or plugging in hyperspace coordinates to make real-time jumps to lightspeed. We've never seen anything like that in a Star Wars video game before. It's gonna be the next major Star Wars game that's released, and it's right around the corner at this point. So in today's video, we're exploring everything we know about Outlaws, from gameplay to a release date. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing for more Star Wars gaming content, and remember to force push the thumbs up button. Do it! Outlaws seems like it could really be something special. It's an open-world, third-person action-adventure game that's going to be set in that brief year between episodes 5 and 6. It's being developed in the gorgeous Snowdrop engine by Massive Entertainment, and they say that this will be the first truly open-world Star Wars game. We've had games in the past, like Star Wars Galaxies, that had something close to an open world, but Outlaws is apparently promising the actual thing, with enormous maps and planets that are handmade from the ground up. It's going to tell an original story with a cast of fresh faces. In the game, we play as Vess, a thief from Canto Bight. Yes, that Canto Bight. Who wants to earn a big score, not unlike our young Han Solo. The basic idea behind the game is, as a scoundrel for hire, you fly around the galaxy doing odd jobs for all the different gangs and crime syndicates, either increasing or decreasing your reputation with each gang, and just shooting for that major payday. It's basically Grand Theft Auto in space, complete with the wanted meter if you piss off the local Imperial authorities, and I'm here for it. While the game does tell an original story, it appears to be non-linear, with dialogue options throughout that let you choose which way you want to take it. The non-linear nature is probably best exemplified with the reputation mechanic, which the developers imply is one of the most important parts of the game. We had a saying that, in the underworld, you live and die by your rep. Your reputation decides the opportunities that you're given by the different factions and the syndicates. By successfully finishing jobs for them, you can increase your reputation, or you can betray them and lower your rep. You could pick up a job from Jabba the Hutt himself and decide to stab him in the back if you really wanted to, and that would lower your reputation with the Hutts. The confirmed syndicates that we get to work with are, of course, the Hutt Cartel, the Pikes, and the new Ashiga clan, an original creation for the game, but there's probably going to be others like Black Sun, Crimson Dawn, and the droid Gatra, which this character, ND5, is most likely from. The reputation mechanic sends the replay value of the game off the charts. You could focus an entire playthrough on increasing your reputation with just one specific gang, or you could fly solo and betray all the cartels. It's really in your hands and how you want to finish the story. Besides the crime syndicates, the Empire will be the other threat we have to deal with. Keep in mind, this is set after the Battle of Hoth, so at this point in galactic history, the Empire is pretty much on top. The rebels are all but defeated, so the Empire is going to be everywhere. When we were shown the 10-minute gameplay demo, we saw this scene between Kay and an Imperial official. Here is where some of those dialogue options come into play. By choosing to not bribe the Imp, she sends the Empire after Kay. But if you choose to bribe her instead, then that probably wouldn't happen, but again, it's all in your hands, and the different narrative options makes for a truly unique playthrough. As mentioned before, this will be a third-person action game first and foremost, so naturally a lot of what we do as Kay comes down to sneaking around, finishing objectives, and fighting bad guys. There's a lot of stealth elements in what we saw in the gameplay demo, lots of crouching and moving from cover to cover. There's also a huge emphasis on using your partner in crime, Nix, as almost like a third hand. This little guy can move around the map and either activate switches to help you out, or he can go fetch a new blaster for you to play with, making him an invaluable tool during the game. The blaster appears to be your primary weapon, but you can also mix in some melee attacks in the middle of combat. The blaster can be upgraded too. Kay carries with her a number of different gadgets and tools, like a grapple hook and some vials of Bacta, and she's also got these blaster modules that let her change how her blaster works in the middle of a fight. There's the standard blaster shots, a stun mode, a focused mode for a charged shot. There's probably going to be a number of these modules that we can collect throughout the game, so we'll have to keep our eyes open for them. One of my favorite features from the gameplay demo was the interactable environment. Other than being able to grab and hold on to different objects, we can also grapple onto grapple points, and you can even shoot at explosive barrels in the world that will help you take out enemies. This kind of interactable environment brings the game to life, and it gives a kind of no-rules mentality to how you want to play. As this is an open world game, we have to spend a little bit of time talking about the maps and the planets. As I mentioned before, the maps in this game are going to be absolutely enormous. In a recent interview at Comic-Con, the creative director for Outlaws, Julian Garrity, explained that the open world locations in Outlaws, like the desert moon of Tashara that we've seen, were so big that they needed to give the player the speeder to cross them, and that's the whole reason that's in the game. He says, quote, "There isn't just this bustling city. In Tashara's case, it's called Mirogana, but there's all the wilderness outside where the player can explore. But those distances are fairly vast, so to make them fun and accessible, we came up with the speeder." If any of you have played Assassin's Creed Odyssey, you might have a decent idea of how big each area of Outlaws will be. Julian claims that each planet in Outlaws is going to be roughly the same size as about 2 or 3 zones from Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Of course, if you played that game, you know that each zone varies in size, but that does give us a bit of an idea of what to expect. And it explains why we need the speeder to get around. If we were forced to do this on foot, it would take hours to get from point A to point B, so the speeder's an excellent idea. Garrity went on to explain that the inspiration for the way the speeder looks and controls wasn't anything that had been previously done in Star Wars before, and the team was actually inspired by motocross, and motocross in the sense of making the travel really fun. Thrilling, full of tricks, speed, chases, that type of thing. He also touched on speeder customization, saying, "I don't know about stickers, but there will be some kind of personalization for your speeder, so that's fun." So we have to talk about that so-called seamless ground-to-space transitions. First of all, this looks fantastic. This is definitely the right idea, but this isn't truly seamless. The takeoff is actually masked by a loading screen disguised as a cutscene, so it doesn't look like we can truly take off seamlessly from ground to space, but this is at least a huge step in the right direction. The only other game that advertised this kind of ground to space transition was the original Battlefront 3 that got cancelled. So at the very least, this is a callback to something that most Star Wars gamers never had the chance to experience. In fact, it reminds me of the space combat in Battlefront 2, only a lot more polished, because I can clearly see their ship, the Trailblazer, bashing into different things in the environment, but hey, they're not blowing up like you do in Battlefront 2, so that's a huge improvement. Then of course you've got those same circular reticles that appear leading in front of all your targets, making it easier for you to shoot them down. That's straight out of Battlefront 2, great inclusion. And of course, I've got to talk about my favorite part in this space combat section, plugging in the hyperspace coordinates and making that jump in real time. That is so cool. And if you notice, that's how they're escaping from the Empire. We still haven't talked about the entire wanted system yet. So just like in Grand Theft Auto, you can be wanted by the authorities. The Empire can send out troops after you and try to chase you down, and the longer you avoid them, or if you start to get into prolonged shootouts with the Empire, your wanted meter is going to go up, and they'll start sending stronger and stronger waves of Imperials at you. Probably at some point you'll start facing Death Troopers, or maybe even Imperial Guards, who knows. So far, it seems like if you're wanted, the best way to get away from the Empire is to just make a jump to light speed and go to a different planet, but there may or may not be other methods too. Speaking of the planets, we only really know of 5 that are currently confirmed in the game, those being Kijimi, which we saw in Episode 9, Tashara, that same planet from the demo, Tatooine, Akiva, which is another new planet for the game, and of course Cantonica, the home planet of Kay. I really hope there's more. I don't want this game to suffer from what I call Jedi syndrome, where we have what feels like an entire galaxy to explore, but we only get to visit 4 or 5 planets, maybe 6 if we're lucky. That's what happened with Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor. Not that it necessarily took away from the game, but the whole idea of being able to travel across the whole galaxy and then being limited to just a handful of planets doesn't quite feel right, you know? With that said, every planet in Star Wars Outlaws is going to be built from the ground up. It's not procedurally generated, meaning the team is spending a great deal of time and effort on each of these locations. So if the game does suffer from Jedi syndrome, I can at the very least understand why. Star Wars Outlaws is going to be a current-gen exclusive game. I don't even know if they're making games for PS4 and Xbox what is it? I don't even know what the last generation Xbox is. Regardless, this game is just going to be for PC, PlayStation 5, and the current generation Xbox. As far as a release date is concerned, we have no idea when this game is dropping exactly. We just know it's coming out in 2024. In fact, there was a report that said Massive Entertainment had to delay the game until the next fiscal quarter, which still lines up with the 2024 release date. If you ask me, this lines it up perfectly for a May 4th Star Wars Day release, which I think would send the community into overdrive. We need that kind of hype. Guys, I am so hyped for Star Wars Outlaws. This game is really looking up to be one of the best games that we've ever had in the galaxy far, far away. If you're hyped for it too, let me know by dropping a comment and giving this video a thumbs up. If I missed any details about Star Wars Outlaws, drop them in a comment below. I know a lot of my viewers are sharper-eyed than I. Once again, if you want to stay in the loop with more Star Wars video game content, consider subscribing and ringing that bell to get notified. But that's going to do it for this one. Thank you all so much for watching the video. This has been Star, and I will see you next time. Peace.